Paul Bowen reporting. On May 30th, another 300,000 racing fans will jam the famous Indianapolis Speedway for the 50th running of the Indianapolis 500. We recently called a man they will come to see, one of the world's foremost racing drivers, A.J. Foyt. A.J., what do you think the speeds will be like in this year's race?
Well, actually, I'd say the speeds will probably be 158 or 159 miles an hour to make the starting field for this year's race.
What do you think it will take to win the number one pole position?
I'd say approximately 165 miles an hour to sit on the pole.
What about new cars for this race?
Well, I imagine you'll see more rear-engine cars than you did, and also I understand there's going to be a couple turbines, rear-engine cars with turbine engine in, so that'd be something different that we didn't have last year.
Do you think you will see any roadsters?
Well, yes, I think possibly there will be some roadsters. They're kind of far and few in between now because everybody's one on the rear-engine cars.
A.J., speeds have increased rapidly the past few years. To what do you attribute this?
Well, actually, the reason the speeds are brought up, you've had the tire manufacturers that done a lot of test work out here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Goodyear Tire and Rubber Company is the one I've done an awful lot of test work. And the new development of tires has brought the speeds up more than anything else.
Last year, your qualifying speed was a record 161 miles an hour. Do you think we're getting close to the maximum speed for the Indianapolis Speedway?
Well, actually, we thought that last year, but Goodyear seems to be coming up with some better tires each year, so the speeds keep going up.
A.J., you've won practically all the races there are. Do you think the 500 is the toughest of them all?
I think so, because you're here for a whole month and the pressure's real strong on you, and you live just for this one race, and it's such a big letdown if you have any kind of misfortune or anything, and then you have to wait another year to come back to it. So I really think that this is probably the most tiring and mental strain race there is right here.
Thank you, A.J. Foyt, and best of luck at Indianapolis on Memorial Day, 1966. Now, back to our studios. Paul Bowen reporting. The Memorial Day holiday is close at hand, and many families will be taking advantage of the 3-day weekend to go on auto trips. To find out what precautions a motorist should take before going on long auto trips, we talked to Andy Favalon, who is in charge of the service departments of all service stores of the Goodyear Tire and Rubber Company. Andy, shouldn't a motorist have his car checked before setting out?
Most certainly. The careful, safety-conscious driver will have his car thoroughly inspected by a competent mechanic before starting on any trip, anytime. But this is particularly important before the Memorial Day holiday because for most drivers this will be the first time the car has been driven a great distance since Christmas or perhaps even since last Labor Day.
What effect does this long period of close-to-home driving through the winter months have on an automobile?
Winter driving is very demanding of autos. In cold weather, engine oil is more easily contaminated with gasoline and other solvents because the engine doesn't have a chance to warm up on the brief drives around town. The tires and suspension have a hard time because of the rough pavements. Corrosive slush damages the headlamps and the taillight units, the exhaust systems, and the front-end suspension parts. Slush contaminates front-end lubricants, causing premature wear, which results in fast, abnormal wear on tires.
In view of what adverse conditions can do to an automobile, Andy, what would you suggest that a motorist do to make sure his car is ready for a trip after the long bout with winter?
Well, to avoid trouble, we at Goodyear recommend he take his car to a reputable service establishment and have its safety checked from bumper to bumper. All of the things I have just mentioned should be checked carefully. Crankcase oil should be changed and the suspension lubricated. The tires should be inspected for proper inflation, road damage, and excessive and abnormal wear. The front end should be realigned. The entire brake system should be inspected for proper shoe contact to the brake drums, and the entire hydraulic system should be checked to be sure there are no leaks that could cause a sudden brake failure. In other words, after putting up with the long winter months, a car needs the equivalent of a complete physical examination.
Thank you, Andy Favalon. And now, back to our studios. Paul Bowen reporting. Three professional test drivers from San Angelo, Texas, toured America recently in a demanding and unusual test designed to find out whether tires on new cars are really safe. Crisscrossing the continent, the men drove two heavily loaded station wagons nearly 12,000 miles under every conceivable road condition. Making the trip were three veteran test drivers, Bob Clements, J.D. Martin, and Garland Gaines of the San Angelo Proving Grounds of the Goodyear Tire and Rubber Company. Besides the men and their baggage, the wagons were loaded with bags of gravel, lead shot, and lead plates, and each set of tires was carrying more than 2 3/4 tons. Both cars were carrying the maximum load for tires and vehicle as recommended by the Tire and Rim Association. Undoubtedly, the maximum load is more than the average vacationer would put in his wagon. Nevertheless, out of their experience, Goodyear has come up with some valuable tips for station wagon drivers. Before starting out on a trip, be sure the vehicle is in good operating condition. Tell your serviceman to make sure the brakes are properly adjusted and check front wheel alignment. Load should be distributed as evenly as possible, with the bulk of the weight placed close to the middle of the wagon, not near the tailgate. Tires should be carefully checked for damage and excessive wear and replaced if necessary. Start and stop with even acceleration and deceleration. Jackrabbit starts and panic stops waste fuel and increase tire and brake wear. They also create safety hazards when passengers are thrown about and heavy loads suddenly shift. And now, back to our studios. Paul Bowen reporting. To most golfers, an average 18-hole score of 70.98 is only made in dreams. As a matter of fact, only 3 other professional golfers recorded better averages in 1965. The man who made that enviable record was Dave Marr, named the Professional Golfers Association Player of the Year in 1965. We called this fine gentleman the current PGA champion at his home in New York. Dave, as a professional, what would you say is the one thing the average golfer can do to improve his game?
Well, I think that actually the best thing that a average golfer can do is to stick to the basic fundamentals of golf. And whenever he gets off, I think that he should go to his professional at his club and check his fundamentals, such as the grip, which is very important in your swing, and just practice that a little bit. Not too many of your average club members like to practice. I know it's dull and unexciting work, but they just run out to the tee and start to play rather than working and warming up a little bit before they do go play. I don't think they give themselves a chance to perform their best.
I understand, Dave, that you have recently been named playing professional at the Goodyear Golf and Country Club at Litchfield Park, Arizona.
Well, that's right, Paul. It's a very good association for me and something I've looked forward to doing, being associated with Goodyear and the Goodyear Golf and Country Club just outside of Phoenix. They're going to really make this a wonderful facility. They're going to have 36 holes, which they already have completed, and the courses have been revamped, and I think it's going to be one of the outstanding golf resorts in the country.
Dave, why do you think it's important for golfers to get instructions from a professional?
Well, I think that the professional knows more about golf, and it's very hard for a person to correct themselves because they can't see what they're doing. And I think that you need someone there to tutor you and tell you exactly whether you're doing the right thing or the wrong thing.
Thank you, Dave Marr. Now, back to our studios. Paul Bowen reporting. Bicycling is at its all-time peak of popularity with more than 23 million bike riders in America alone. Just as with an automobile, airplane, or any other means of transportation, a bike must be properly equipped or the chance of an accident is greatly increased. With warmer weather upon us and more bike riders on the road, the Goodyear Tire and Rubber Company urges each bike rider to make sure his bike is in safe operating condition. Adjust the seat and handlebars to your size. Make sure handle grips are tight. Lubricate wheel bearings, chain links, and pedal bearings. Make sure brakes are working properly. Keep those nuts and bolts tight. Rattles mean wear. Always keep your tires properly inflated and have your wheel alignment checked to make sure tire wear is even over the whole tread. Goodyear also urges you to be sure your bell or horn is working and your bike is equipped for night riding with reflectors and headlights. And please, drive carefully. Now, back to our studios. Paul Bowen reporting. The current emphasis on automotive safety has made padded dashboards standard equipment on virtually all U.S. cars. Other areas of safety padding will be added to car interior to make for safer and more comfortable driving. To find out about the newest of trends in safety padding, we talked to Russell Byall, manager of foam products development for the Goodyear Tire and Rubber Company. Russ, where do you feel these trends will go?
Paul, padding on instrument panels will become thicker and better arranged so as to protect the occupants from knobs and other projections. We will see safety pads beneath the dash to protect the knees. We will see padding on the post between the windshield and the door. And in the near future, we will see safety padding on the back of the front seat to protect the rear seat passengers, especially children.
Russ, what factors must be considered in designing safety pads?
The development of effective safety padding is more complicated than most people realize. We cannot sacrifice too much space, for there must be room for the occupants to ride in comfort. We must have materials that absorb energy without too much bounce. It does little good to save a person's skull if the rebound breaks his neck. And we must have durable materials. The public doesn't want to replace the pad each time it's bumped. Goodyear has been working with automakers for many years to develop effective padding. Today's cars are safer because of those developments. Tomorrow's cars will be safer still.
Thank you, Russ Byall. Now, back to our studios. Paul Bowen reporting. Spring cleaning time is here, and with it, thoughts of sprucing up and redecorating your home. To talk about new trends in flooring, we visited with Yale Foreman, flooring stylist for the Goodyear Tire and Rubber Company. Yale, what can Milady look for that's new this year?
In flooring this spring, the basic trends both in carpeting and smooth surface are for clearer and brighter color, more texture, and greater dimension of pattern. In vinyl flooring, color lines will show more pastels and some deep dark tones. The naturalistic textures such as mosaics, marbles, travertines, wood grains will continue to be strong, and due to great advances made in reproduction and technology, these effects will be even more pronounced in their authenticity. In Goodyear's vinyl flooring line, we have introduced some striking new effects. Roman Villa, which is a modern adaptation of the design floors found in ancient Roman palaces. Murata, an authentic reproduction of Italian marble. And Blossom, a departure in vinyl flooring styling. Here we have created a mosaic pattern in which the mosaic chips come together to form a subtle pattern of roses. And, important too, clearer and fresher colors, greater fidelity and authenticity of design, higher quality, and greater ease of maintenance. As a result, a woman with a moderate budget for refurnishing has a vast opportunity to find and select items of great beauty.
Thank you, Yale Foreman. And now, back to our studios.